Hey, what if everybody in the Philippines down here all stopped crowding into cities? And what if they actually had bridges put in based on the criteria I've laid out for quickly putting in supports through the underwater? And you could have bridges that go not only over to Singapore, but over here to Cuckup and then down into here. You could put one in here on Rupert Island to Port Dickson. You could have these bridges, you could have cities that run along long distances like they're starting to do in the Middle East, where they build up in a corridor along, routes. That's normal. That's like what you'd expect, correct behavior um, for humans. Instead, they don't follow those rules and just do whatever the hell they want to destroy everything. So, if you imagine that people, they do, of course, go along roads. Um, and here's where the corruption is, right? So a random person can't go along here to where there's not a farm and say, well, I want to have a farm here. Well, they can't do it. Immediately, anywhere in the world, anybody coming in, even if they have resources and get everything set up and seem legitimate, if they don't have the right friends, then whoever in the area will call the police. And then the police will show up and say, you're illegally squatting even though you have a whole residence and a farm and everything because you weren't approved by the gang, the local authorities. So, how does anybody get a farm? What do you do if you don't currently have anything and there's tons of empty land? Well, there doesn't seem to be any logic to it. It's like some sort of bacterial, like, impetus. Let me give you an example here. When me and Grant were going over to California in 2021, everything was burning, venting, magma, etc. Just as it's doing now, 5 years later, as if it's the same year or something. So we got over here past or towards Bend. We were at like, who cares? Suntex, Hampton Brothers. It's probably over in here. Really dead area. Like you can really tell the uranium settled in here real heavily from 50 to 100 years ago from all the Republican gangs taking over. So, some random degenerate Mexican dude, we saw him along with hundreds of other cars actually detecting that me and Grant had left from over here. Like as though they smelled our radiation and left the Treasure Valley. So when we left over here, everybody was being big degenerate and being very negative, including Paula, just acting like I was worth nothing and I could never leave the Treasure Valley because I'm trapped here. Whatever that's fucking supposed to mean. So we got in our car and we drove all the way. Maybe it was past Burns, I don't know. But I had to stop and get out of the car. And I knew as soon as I did that, instantly there would be thousands of cars that don't make sense going out across a desert death landscape of Oregon at the time that had no greenery, no support, in crappy cars. They'd never be driving across this area. Nobody hardly does. Um, every last degenerate from the cities, from the Treasure Valley, from anywhere elsewhere, suddenly all gritting their teeth, savage, desperate, and thieving. As if they all desperately were supporting each other and would come in and pull off anywhere, these random degenerates, to all these abandoned at the time farms and old destroyed houses, double wides and shit along here with trash all around them. And they pull in and sit there heavily breathing like they're going to have a heart attack aneurysm. And then when they found anything like anything, a gutted car on the side of the road, they stop and guard it and then glare as we go past, specifically me and Grant, focusing in on desperately all the bacteria in their brains focused on us two random supposed brothers that have no money, that no one's supposed to know about, and yet all the degenerates knew exactly what and who we were and wanted to kill and enslave and steal from us. So this Mexican guy was fake working on a random house out here that was totally fucking destroyed and just like little chunks wherever it was. Not there. And we actually stopped and I had my fancy camera and I said, so what are you actually playing at? Oh, I'm fixing the house. As he showed up with no tools. He just had like a hammer in his car. And the whole trailer house, like the walls on the back had been busted out and the chunks of wood and insulation and windows and walls were just laying all over the backyard. And he had his little hammer and he was tapping at stuff randomly like a IQ degenerative retard, 50 IQ, just total asshole who can barely drive. So this behavior continued with more and more baby murder looking women, rapist looking men, all the way through Bend, all the way down into California, as if the entire population of every trailer park, all of the thieves in the world followed us. And guess what? There was enormous fucking volcanoes and they all burnt alive. Choked to death on the fumes. It was a mass death like I'd never seen. But the point is, if they can rush around and own everything and then get fake licenses from the local sheriffs to say they own everything because they're kind of degenerate, then there are no rules. That's how degenerates own everything. They run everyone out with various methods and then take over the area and then try to get people to come back in and be their slaves. So, I've been talking about how everybody in Singapore, everybody in Jakarta type area here, both of these cities of people are slavers. They would eagerly, if they had any ambition, any energy, any connections, anyone they hated and were trying to be better than, they would all rush out of their city and follow a random dude and his brother out along somewhere. Say there's some Asian dude and his brother that everybody's spying on and thinks is real cool and make a movie about, him and call it, Singaporean slasher, and, it's like Napoleon Dynamite, and he's a real cool dude. And everybody looks at him and says, oh, look at him. He's the guy that we make fun of who's poor and thinks he, is ever gonna, own anything or have friends. Let's stop him. Let's kill him. Oh, we gotta do something to stop him. What is that? What the fuck is that? It went on for so fucking long that finally the military had to actually notice and start enforcing some sort of fucking rules. Now, the more the military enforces basic concepts of, law, the more every degenerative trailer park retard turns into a Middle Eastern terrorist. It already happened 20 years ago, and it's bound to happen again now going into 2027. Same retard terrorists 20 years later, just like Iran. Everybody says the war was happening in 2005 to 6 in Iran, but then whoop, whoop, no, that war is happening now, supposedly. Or is it really just that there's earthquakes and nobody can ship anything? And then they say that random little civil wars are actually world wars. When do the news and every other organization stop perfectly working together to keep degenerates richer than decent Christian families? No, you have to be a degenerative, false Christian, false religious, false spirituality, totally obviously, then you succeed. It's rigged. So, if we come in here, I still don't fucking understand it. There is infinite, what is all of this? Is this being farmed? There's all these roads. It looks like it's been planted, supposedly. Or is it just forest? Are they actually harvesting coconuts or something? What's going on here? There's supposedly only 8 billion people on the planet. Well, there's so many farms all over the world. Where the hell is that food going to? People can't eat that many tons of food per day. Each person can only eat a few pounds of food per day. You know what I'm saying? So if you add up all of the food in a part of the world on all the farms, the only conclusion you can reach is it's going to animals, or it's just sitting there, or it's being turned into fuel so that they have an excuse to always have more fields that are achieving nothing. So, shame on you, everybody. You've chopped all the trees down and you have pointless farms. At least some of these farms are tree farms. But it makes me think they're not, that they're actually going in here with these roads to harvest the trees rather than farm anything off of them. Here's a corporate office. What are they doing with all of this? And because they're busy owning all of it, no one can go out here and have vacation homes and set up, sustainable agriculture forests that replenish themselves and keep the animals fed and keep people fed. That's not allowed. No, can't do that. So I'm saying, with the money I've generated from running most of the world's modern businesses as they become related to my technology and my friends who set it all up, then all of these bridges will be put in, as I've described in greater and greater detail how you put in bridges at high speed. And then everything here will be connected. And then I expect people to be going constantly on trains, especially in cars, over into different places and have the spots they go on vacation and the friends they fuck and the bed and breakfasts they stay at. So all of this is shallow. That's a shallow crossing. These are shallow crossings. A few of the crossings, there's spots maybe like right here where it is possible to still make a bridge even though it goes up to almost 1,000 feet underwater. I've described how to do it. And it's worth it because it's such a long chain of connection to so many people. Now look at this. Through Palawan, you can get over to Panay and up to Mindoro and on all the way up until you run out of major islands here. You can't go to Taiwan, that's a huge gap. But look at this. Then, if you look in here, it's rather deep in here, 500 to 600 feet. But you could technically, I didn't put one in, you could have a bridge over to here and there or whatever, you know, straight direct on. I just hadn't put one there. Now I'm going to point out that each of these locations, I actually came in and placed where the bridge would be for minimal disturbance of the peasant populace and maximum financial gain and, you know, logical placement for saving money and effort. Like you go up over with the bridge up higher anyways, so then it comes in up higher and then there's always space for it. Everywhere I put in a bridge, there's always space for it. Nothing has to be removed. And yet every time a bridge is being put in, every single video I watch on it is nothing but, imagine all those poor people that are being displaced. Shut the hell up. You're a retard. Why the fuck would someone care if they have to move 30 yards one direction because a road's going past? Grow the fuck up. You fucking stupid swine. So this stays reasonably shallow across. I mean, look at all these connections. Anywhere you want to go. I didn't even put in the bridge here and the bridges here and over to here so then you can get around here quicker rather than going up and around here. All of it could be connected. Yeah. You have bridges down through here like I was pointing out. So think how much effort I went to place these. Zooming in and locating how it would go lay in and thinking about all of it and how it would hit which islands. That is some level of engineering already. It's far more than anybody else does who ever makes a video on YouTube or anything. They don't actually work. I mean, there are specific people that work for group interests who a group collective works, but no individual ever works that hard. Only me and only my brother, and he was murdered for it. See, there's all these places where they have it set up actually for a bridge, inevitably, and they'll act like they don't know what anyone's talking about. This isn't for a bridge, but it is. You spin up to the certain height, 200 feet, and then you go out across on the bridge. So I laid out this one up to the main road. No matter what you do in these circumstances, these roads are so narrow with so many cramped, stupid little houses along it that you're gonna have to bulldoze out either some trees or go over them mostly. See, the plan is you can put in supports so that you go over everything and up to the point where it's higher elevation up in here somewhere. Somewhat, and kind of dodge the population clusters. It is usually possible still. But if you sit around and have the populace build up with no logical environmental outlook and no transportation, then you're a bunch of degenerate trailer trash fuckmongers. Like, what the hell is wrong with everybody? So here's another bridge. I don't think that's how I placed this. What the hell? Something moved. How strange. I didn't have it like that. It's just going right over everything. How strange. Okay, whatever. I could change it, but um right here was interesting. I came through here and I said, everybody's an elitist shithead on this island, so none of them would want to be moved by a bridge. But look, there was room right between everything, magically, through all the bullshit. Only removing a few things there, cutting through here, all through here, through some stuff that's barely even utilized as tree fields. And then across over here, past this person's shitty mansion that didn't earn it. And you jog right over to the next island and over the next island, cutting right along here, avoiding all their shit. Am I the only one that can logically look at an area and lay this out? Well, if I am, then pay me somebody. You're all just gonna, cower and hope that you never have to pay people like me. So along here, I kind of went along the hills where there's not much going on, through the valleys, down and around, avoiding the taller hills. It all makes sense. On and on along hills that people no longer want to do anything with because they're kind of steep. Past this town, Warung, Buhieri, on and on it goes. Along there, and then over some more hills, and then we have two. I just was pointing out that that would go over to here, to this spot, and then I realized that this was the incorrect location for a bridge because it would be going nowhere. It needs to be over to here. So I forgot where the other island was as I did it. So I came in over here instead along this peninsula. This water is all shallow and then it gets out to 600-700 feet. And then it comes in here and you come right in with tall whatever supports and right up onto the hill here. Now it's fascinating how you can literally go all the way from the mainland, from China all the way down with bridges pretty easily. Pretty easily. Here, I wasn't really sure what the better option was. From here over here, from Pringad Baja, or from over here, go across these islands. Maybe both. I don't know, whatever. Maybe Belong Island. Belang. And there's roads along, and you put in another one, and another one. And I actually laid out where the road would be through all of this, through the mountain passes real quick. Doing the work that would take other people weeks. I do it in minutes or hours. Even though I'm broken and stupid and in pain, I'm still smarter than everybody else because I eat something. I eat real food. So I figured the bridge would jog up over to this island and then down. It makes the most sense. And then if people wanted to make a bridge out to Banta Island, what I'm saying is, I'll repeat it again. Banta Island, pretty small, right? Well, how much city do they fit on a small area like this? Right? Now, as much city as they fit onto this area, if you had all of the land instead in perfect farm forests, you could grow enough food to support the same amount of land of city, 1 to 1. And so 50% of our earth isn't covered by city. It's like point whatever, 0.2% or something. So, or less. So there's way too much squandered land that just sitting around that nobody does anything with because it's not near a set up population center. And remember, you can't go and set up your own population center because the government will declare that you didn't do it with all of their rules and regulations and enslavement councils and people to come in and make sure you're slaves properly. So then they'll kill you. You can't get free. There's land everywhere, but you don't get to use it. You don't get to vacation on it even hardly. Here we are at Komodo Island. So I did not bother making a road across Komodo Island because I just didn't care. You're not paying me, so I just started up the bridge on the other side from here. The bridge could also come in from over here to this island and across, but this is a much smaller channel, just a tiny one, so I guess it would save a little money, or maybe not because you have to go around farther. And I cut it straight across. I thought this was hilarious. I saw this years ago. Everybody made fun of it. Police corner, like the bridge I'm inevitably putting in. There'll be police waiting here at the corner. Police corner. Even though it's out in the water and it's in the wrong spot. I just thought that was funny. This is police corner. All the retard murderers will hang out here, so they claim. Now check that out. You can get all the way. I mean, with a high-speed train going, the ones I have helped design the conceptual layout for in their tunnels, they'd be going the speed of sound and generating electricity while they go along, and would actually, like, once you have it all set up and the noble gas in there and everything, I think you wouldn't need much electricity with my whole setup with the hydrogen electrical generators elsewhere, fusion generation, and then that feeds back through, and the train tunnels are like batteries storing and plumping the extra electron particles for the magnetism. And the end result is you have trains that most airplanes, because they refuse to allow those airplanes that go up into the upper heliosphere and go 5,000 miles an hour. Those aren't allowed. Those are banned. Those are secret. Those are only for really rich elitists so they can get to the other side of the world in a half hour. Everybody else isn't allowed to do that. That's a secret now. Somehow, even though they were just, you could charter a flight as a rich person in the 80s, they had like 100 of these planes made and they were all over the world, and they go up to the heliosphere, takes 20 minutes, then they accelerate up to 5,000 miles an hour and get around the whole planet, and they come back down and land in 20 minutes. So you could get anywhere in the world in an hour. Anywhere with an airport you could land at that was big enough. So what happened to those planes? They were all decommissioned, and then steadily stories were told that they never existed. Because that's too cool. That's too free. So, island after island, bridge after bridge, past Komodo, all the way out here, put in a couple of bridges here, so you can get to this island. Or just put one here. Bridge after bridge. Right on that ridge by the lighthouses. This one finally, it's at 892 feet at the deepest, so this one is going to cost a little more finally to put in down when you get to this point. That one, to extend it out to this area for these islands. It'd be worth it pretty quickly, because if you actually have people moving around and freely living where they want and, you know, using the local resources in a environmentally friendly way without government limitations constantly. So yeah, you get all the way out here. Say you come from China and you take 800-mile-an-hour train, my trains, and you get all the way out to this tip here in what, an hour or two? I mean, there'd be some curves that would slow you down inevitably, so that maybe you'd have to go a little lower in speed sometimes, but maybe not. I've got it set up experimentally, conceptually, so you could stay right at the speed of sound within your magnetic train tunnel. Now, this one finally gets to 6,000 feet. Way there, you can't actually make a tunnel either on the floor or a bridge above. It's too deep. And floating tunnels are something that I've been thinking about, and it's so difficult to engineer those. It's just not something we need to worry about yet, anyways, as humanity, because there's 100 major bridges to build around the world to connect everybody. The interesting thing is that you can get all the way over to here, and then you take a plane or whatever, and you get right to Australia. The Tiwi Islands. Here's a cute little bridge I came up with. Well, let's zoom on down. So you go past the bog on the side, and then you cut across to this location. Yep, pretty exciting. Northwest Vernon Island, and then you land finally here on the Tiwi Islands. And then had the road go up around and follow the road and go back down here to cross over to this other island. So then everyone's connected. And then there's all of this land that on all these islands. Meanwhile, everyone's on one city. And it's like, it's almost like, is it good that they're all over there? Because they're so moronically, arrogantly destructive that maybe we don't want trashy retards that can't take care of themselves outside of the cities. Because think about it. When you're in the city, you've got no yard. You don't even need a pet necessarily. You don't have to know how to water plants. You just throw something in the microwave when you get home. You don't have to have real friends because you can go out in social groups and, work status areas and get enough interaction that you can be a total asshole, degenerative moron with nothing to say or contribute, and yet still somehow pretend you're getting enough interaction to not go insane and kill yourself. That's what cities are. It's a breeding ground for the most degenerative displays of non-humanity. So I'm saying everybody needs to be given the responsibility that they have to go out and care about something and somebody and some location in the world and make it better, and then get certified that they made something better. That's the new standard of living. You don't get to sit around and eat pizza in the city for decade after decade while there's literally billions of other people in the world desperately working in shitty conditions that make no sense in the modern era to keep your stupid retard ass going when you have zero skills in life. Again, Napoleon Dynamite. You gotta have great skills. Napoleon Dynamite wants people to be good at things. How stupid is that? He wants Mexicans to not be slaves and to fight back. How stupid. Mexicans are just slaves, everyone, right? I mean, that's the type of things people say publicly at me. And I've just learned to just not care and just ignore everyone making Napoleon Dynamite references in town. And then I slog through all of this bullshit. And then I get to these pockets of positivity where people say, oh, it's Napoleon Dynamite, oh, we love you. And then I'm supposed to what? Turn around after being enslaved, bullied, and harassed on this very subject and others for years and decades? I'm supposed to turn around and suddenly be happy and excited that somebody identified that I'm related to Napoleon Dynamite? What's that person? Are they going to ask for my autograph? They never have. Why don't you want my autograph? I'm the real Napoleon Dynamite. You don't give a fuck, do you? Why would you not want my autograph? It means that they don't actually like me or give a fuck. They don't think I'm famous. They're just, for some reason, occasionally people play lip service like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we pretended like we gave a fuck instead of not giving a fuck on purpose desperately? I don't get any of it. None of it makes any fucking sense. How can there be so many people all around me willing to know who I am and what I've accomplished in life, and yet will never pay me and won't even compliment me hardly? No one can even talk to me. They're so degenerative. They go to say too many words and they start saying, police, cannibalism, abortion. They're filled with malicious bacteria destroying their happiness. And then they're ashamed and don't want to talk to me. And I'm like, I don't care. You think I can't see past that and I can't tell if somebody's infected or if they are the infection? Everyone's infected. I expect them to stumble over their words and to say the wrong thing and say spooky stuff they aren't supposed to. So what? That's part of life in the current era. But I also expect people to give me things. Give me things. Give me things. I've given you things. You have not given me anything back in return. Everybody owes me infinite amounts of money. And I always say this. You might just find that you owe me so much right down to the biological level of your bacteria that your bacteria in your body will just, say, this body's not worth it, and just, give up, move on to the next body, escape, do whatever, and your body will just die of cancer suddenly because you never paid the Pied Piper. And you never planned to.